Good morning, Pittsburgh. Welcome to Pitt to the Point, live from the state-of-the-art Pitt Studios. I'm your host, Chris Cornejo.
And I'm also your host, Sarah Sarignano. Thank you so much for joining us this morning in the studio. Pitt to the Point covers everything going on at the University of Pittsburgh.
All the way to the point.
To the
That's
point.
right. As always, we're covering news for the entire Pittsburgh area.
We'll be discussing everything going on in the city, from entertainment, politics, and sports, to keeping up with what's happening on campus at the University of Pittsburgh as well. But most importantly, we're getting you guys ready to start your Pittsburgh day off right. World leaders are displaying growing concerns in response to Russian President Vladimir Putin's recent actions in eastern Ukraine throughout the week. The tension between Ukraine and Russia have been growing since 2014, and today, Pitt to the Point is honored to have Dr. Timothy Mylovanov, the current president of the Kyiv School of Economics and a professor here at the University of Pittsburgh, live with us from the Ukraine. Dr. Mylovanov, thank you so much for joining us today. First of all, are you and your family okay and doing well?
Yeah, we're in a relatively safe location. Thank you.
That is absolutely wonderful to hear. Being the former Minister of Economic Development, Trade, and Agriculture for Ukraine, what has been your initial reaction to the developments in the eastern region of the country?
It's not in the east only. Kyiv is under siege. It's coming from the north, from Belarus. And also from the Crimea, there is an attack on the south of Ukraine. And there have been attacks on the port of Odessa. So, Ukraine it's not just in the east. That's what the government of Russia is saying, that they're carrying out a military operation just in the east of Ukraine, but it's absolutely not true. Yesterday morning, I was in Ukraine, in Kyiv, in the capital of Ukraine, and we were awoken by cruise and ballistic missiles landing in Kyiv. And they were coming from the north. So it's much bigger now operations. And today there were special ops and paratroopers, and yesterday too, on the outskirts of Kyiv. I've seen, when I was moving my family to safety, I've seen columns of tanks. I've seen the Air Force engaging Russian helicopters just 20 miles north of Kyiv. A number of bridges were, about 30 to 50 kilometers north from Kyiv have been now blown up by the Ukrainian military to stop the advancement of Russian tanks. And so, it's really a large-scale operation across the country.
So, Dr. Mylovanov, what is your personal experience right now being inside Kyiv during these attacks? Of course, it must be jarring and incredibly scary at some points to be inside that region while this is all going on.
It's a combination of a number of emotional responses. Usually attacks or the escalation happens at night. It could be at 3 or 4, or in this case, it was at 5 a.m. And when the first attack came, basically, in theory, we expected it to come, or we contemplated the possibility. Everyone had what we call, get to safety protocol, where if something really unexpected happens, we even drilled and trained them. We did that at the Kyiv School of Economics. We did it, I did it with my family, with my extended family. We all have plans. But you know how these plans are. You wake up because there's a loud explosion. And you're not quite sure because you're sleeping. It's 6 a.m. or 5 a.m. And is it really an explosion, or is it a furniture, being moved by your neighbor? And because you kind of, you at that moment, the first 30 seconds, you're not quite sure. Then you go, to the, check on the social networks, on the official news, and there's nothing there yet, or conflicting reports or something like that. So, we had in place specific protocols at the Kyiv School of Economics where top management or respective departments immediately call a meeting. So we called the meeting, and within 30 minutes we were online and we talked to each other. And some people were actually in the area of the explosions, and they said that it were missiles coming in, and air-to-ground missiles or air-to-surface missiles and ballistic missiles, and they actually seen them hitting the city. So then we knew that it is not, a neighbor moving furniture, and we're being a little bit, overly protective of our families. So then we, once that has become clear, and actually it is very important when you have, when you end up in situations like that, have this kind of plan where you check up with people. And these people can tell you what's happening in their areas, because it might feel very safe, but where you are, but 2 blocks from there could be, tanks attacking. So you need to know that, and it's not always up to date on the news or on social networks or in press releases by the government officials. So then everyone was getting to safety. Everyone had a plan depending on the individual circumstances. So it was a bit funny because we did get to safety. I have my sister's house in the suburb, 20 or 30 minutes away. We got there, but it was close to the military air base, which was later in the afternoon taken over by Russian paratroopers, and then they were fighting, and by the end of the day, the paratroopers were kicked out and killed and dispersed by the Ukrainian military. So we would get into safety, we felt, but we were, there were jets flying over, and there were columns of tanks moving, and scrambling, military brigades. And so, by the time we got there, we sort of, wow, we should find another place. And so we had to relocate to another suburb. But, currently we are sufficiently far away from the activities. But I think the other critical issue that people forget is they hope for the best. There is a little bit, for the first half an hour or an hour, there is a little bit of this hope. We are very optimistic animals, humans. We persevere, and so we believe, we are overconfident and optimistic that things will work out, and they will work out. But in critical situations like that, we tend to delay hoping for the best, and that means that sometimes you can't get out from the area which is danger. Where there is danger. So, people who, I have a classmate, and he wanted to get out 5 hours later from Kiev, and he could not, and he's still in Kiev. So, you have to act fast. So, a bit of messy thing.
Absolutely. In these situations, it's just kind of fight or flight. The Ukraine has made a plea to any able citizen who wants a weapon to take up arms. Are you anticipating having to possibly engage in armed combat with the Russian army in the streets?
I have not taken up the arms, but it is true that there are, even in Kiev right now, you just need a passport and a really quick background check, and you get Kalashnikov or something else. And there are video reports where the weapons are being distributed, and these are self-defense units. They're not militia or unruly. There is a structure to it, but they're being formed and mobilized real quick. And our school, we're operational online, believe it or not. Okay, we canceled all the classes, conferences, and events, but our analysts and communications are working, and our staff is helping set up hotlines for self-defense units for people to enlist. And so, from the strategic perspective of the government, it's really smart thing to do. You increase the cost of invasion and occupation. Now, at a personal level, we have a number of people, both at the top management of the university, of the school, and also among faculty and staff, who enlisted, over the last 24 or 48 hours. And there are others, and that depends on individual circumstances. Some people are trying to get their children to safety, Some people have parents who cannot move or, need help. So everyone is behaving differently. But at this time, there is still, kind of a lot of uncertainty, but the prevailing mood is resilience out of people who I'm in contact with, and I'm running management checks twice a day. I think only one person is a little bit shaken. The others are just working, whatever their plan is. So I don't think people fully realize what has happened, that we're in the middle of war in Europe, and it's missiles shooting on major cities in Ukraine, but everyone is busy doing their job or getting to safety.
Absolutely, Dr. Mylavanov. Now, thank you so much. And of course, we understand that you're going to want to spend as much time with your family and your loved ones as much as you can. So we don't want to take any more of your time. We want to give you a thank you for your time and for the information you've provided on what's going on in your country right now. And of course, we want to just ask that we hope that you maintain that safety that you have and continue to spend time with your family and your loved ones.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you so much for being here. Well, we will continue to monitor that ongoing situation in Ukraine, and we will definitely continue to keep you guys updated here at Pitt to the Point.
Absolutely. One more update on the situation in Ukraine. The Ukrainian President Zelensky has requested direct talks with Russian leader Vladimir Putin. earlier, just within the past half hour, he requested international peace talks with the Russian leader Vladimir Putin, and is hoping on tough sanctions to be applied during this very, very almost surreal time within the eastern part of Europe. So, of course, like we said, Pitt to the Point will continue to maintain monitoring on the situation and update you with anything going on in the country.
Absolutely. Well, the Pennsylvania governor, Tom Wolf, gave the annual budget address in front of a joint session of the State House of Representatives and Senate. This marks the unofficial start of the budget season for the Commonwealth.
And the Pitt community is directly affected by the state's budget, which directly funds a tuition discount for in-state students and families at the University of Pittsburgh. Pennsylvania lawmakers vote to fund a tuition discount for in-state students and their families. This discount is impactful and saves some Pitt students and families in the state more than $15,000 in tuition costs each year. The proposed budget has a June deadline for approval.
Infrastructure is one of those things that not a lot of people think about until something happens. But in county government, we've thought a lot about it, and we continue to invest in improving it. But we've been very proactive over the last 10 years during my tenure, and we've reduced by 63% the bridges that were in poor condition owned by the county, and we've got the plans to continue that over the next couple of years. So we're very, very proactive in making sure that bridges are safe.
Making sure the bridges are safe is one of the top priorities of every citizen in Pittsburgh. But speaking of safety, the University of Pittsburgh has always maintained strict safety precautions. For more on the safety of the students, our Pitt Beat reporter, Margot Rensel, takes a closer look with the Pitt Police Department.
Being a city school, the University of Pittsburgh has a constant fight to keep students safe on and off the campus.
Honestly, I mean, if you leave the building for a second, even if you have to go to the bathroom or anything, there's a guard at every door. There's always someone monitoring everything. You can't just waltz back in. They're very safe about that.
When students have a safety emergency, they should report unsafe conditions to the Pitt Police Department. Pitt urges students to pay attention to their surroundings and to be aware of their environment when interacting on campus.
I make sure that I don't walk home alone a lot. And then if I am feeling uncomfortable, I'll be on the phone with my mom or somebody like that.
Joining us with Margot Rensel live for an interview from Pitt Studios is the Pitt Chief of Police, Loftus. Margot?
Good morning, and thank you so much for joining us today. So first of all, I wanted to know, how long have you been the Chief of Police for the University of Pittsburgh?
Good morning, Margo. Thanks for having me. I've been here 8 years. I'm a Pittsburgh native. I did most of my policing along with my wife in the Miami-Dade Police Department. We each had 30 years there before I retired and came home. Natural progression to really want to police in your hometown. I'm enjoying that. And on the personal connection, we have 2 daughters who are here as well as students.
Awesome. So speaking of your daughters, how does being a city school affect the safety of students like your daughters?
It's a great question. When you think of colleges and universities, we probably all grew up with the idea of a walled university. We certainly are nothing like that. We're extended in a number of different places. Our standard for policing as it is, and it's a little confusing at times. You think of any 500 yards from any university owned or leased building, and that's where our footprint is. That's where our jurisdiction is. So because it's an inner city campus, you have a lot of potential for pedestrian vehicle conflicts, and we have more than our share of those, unfortunately.
So you obviously interact with the community. You obviously interact with the community in Oakland. So how do you interact with the community and students, keeping them both safe together in one community region?
That's a great question. Each year before school starts, we have a number of outreach programs that we do in local parks, trying to get our residents and sometimes our landlords and tenants together with our students and meet on an informal level as opposed to a business level.
Very nice, very nice. So what does the Pitt Police do to keep students safe?
We nag. That's what we do. And the things we nag about are very simple things, and that is primarily awareness. I mentioned before pedestrian vehicle conflict. Think about it. We have our students here, faculty and staff, who have things on their minds. Maybe they have some type of listening device on their ears as they enter into intersections. Those intersections are sometimes occupied with vehicles driven by folks who are on the way to the many hospitals that we have here. They're distracted as well. So we have distracted motorists, we have distracted pedestrians, and we've had that get together in sometimes catastrophic consequences.
Yeah, that's very sad to see. So one more question. What is the best advice you have for students keeping themselves safe on campus?
What I would suggest is just an elevated sense of awareness,
Definitely.
preparedness short of any sense of paranoia, but just be aware of what's going on around you. And when something does happen, usually folks, their reaction is, I'm not going to call the police. This isn't worthy of a police intervention. It usually is.
Yeah.
And we're glad to have the call and we're glad to have the heads up. It may be minor, it may be nothing, or it may be something very, very important to the university community.
Definitely. All right. Well, that's all the time we have for today. Thank you for joining us and informing us about the safety of Pitt students. I also wanted to thank you for serving this community and keeping all of us safe. For Pitt to the Point, I'm your campus reporter, Margot Renzel. Chris, Sarah?
Thank you so much, Margot. As we enter the final days of Black History Month, it is important to highlight the people who are working towards creating a more diverse and inclusive society each and every day.
One of those people is Pitt graduate Dr. Clyde Wilson Pickett. He is a member of the University of Pittsburgh's Board of Trustees and the focus of this week's Alumni Spotlight.
I'm Clyde Wilson Pickett. I serve as the Vice Chancellor for Equity, Diversity, and Inclusion and Chief Diversity Officer at the university. I came to the university in July of 2020. As you know, that was right in the middle of the large push, not only nationally, but globally, for us to advance and examine racial equity. Before coming to the university, I actually lived and worked in Minnesota, in the Twin Cities. And so the murder of George Floyd was front and center to my experience. And having been in Minnesota at that time, of course, was able to witness how there was energy that galvanized the need for us to pursue racial equity work. We have one of the most pronounced racial wealth equity gaps in the country. And so as we think about that, and historically speaking, looking at the presence of different populations and how some have made progress in terms of their goals, whether it's educationally or their progression with regard to wealth, and how others have remained stagnant, and the reminder that we've got a lot of work to do. Part of that conversation as we think about our investment as a university in the community is to understand that we are an economic anchor. And so we have a responsibility to connect with and provide opportunity and partner with the local communities to help transform that investment in the communities. Part of the responsibility of the portfolio that falls in the Office for Equity, Diversity, and Inclusion, civil rights and Title IX compliance. And so we make sure that we respond in a timely way to address issues or incidents should they occur. And so those are things that we prioritize. One of the most transformational things that I've witnessed as part of my time at the university is our scholars and the work that they're doing to transform communities, to transform practitioners and educators in making a difference to confront, combat, and make progress on those racial inequities. Internally, the fine work that our students are doing to advocate for change. A number of our students we heard from loud and clear, our Black Action Society, for wanting to make the university more inclusive in terms of the racial climate. I know that we are making significant progress on our social determinants of health hiring initiative to bring more faculty who are part of BIPOC communities to our university. Of course, I'm excited about the many things that we have ongoing, from producing our diversity forum to working to make our environment more inclusive. I think we're excited about the progress that we're making, but we understand that we have progress to make in the time ahead. And so it's committing to be better each year that you move forward.
Dr. Pickett has worked with students and faculty to guide the University of Pittsburgh through one of the most critical times in the social justice movement.
It's important to reach out to the Office for Equity, Diversity, and Inclusion here at the University of Pittsburgh. By working with the Board of Trustees, the student body may be able to shape the future of racial equality at Pitt.
Coming up, we'll be catching up with a Democratic senatorial candidate, and Vineet Joshi with our Pitt Medical Minute will be updating us on street medicine.
Stick around for all this and more coming up right after the break.
Welcome back to Pitt to the Point. We're going to check in with our political reporter, Maggie McLeod. Maggie, what do you have for us?
As of 2022, 1.5 million people are living in poverty in Pennsylvania. With statistics as concerning as these, many Pennsylvanians are losing hope in our current leaders. Democrat senatorial candidate Malcolm Kenyatta wants to revamp and revive the American dream.
As I've served in Harrisburg and worked on so many of the issues I worked on, from poverty to criminal justice reform, to mental health care for our kids, and so many of the ideas that I've championed, I recognize that everything I thought disqualified me actually qualified me.
At the young age of 12, Kenyatta was already working a minimum wage job to help support his family. Raised by a mother who was a home health care aide and a father who was a social worker, they struggled to make ends meet.
You know, because I understand in my bones what's broken. I say all the time, this campaign is about answering the question of who do we think government should work for? And I do think it should be about working for working people and working families. You know, there's so many folks like me who understand in a real lived way what happens when government doesn't act on things like healthcare, on things like education, on things like housing. If the Senate was full of more people who had the set of life experiences that I have, I think we would have accomplished a lot of the things that I mentioned. We would have already done it. But so many of those people are just fine, and their kids go to great private schools, and they have world-class healthcare, and they will be fine no matter what we do. But for many other people, they won't be okay. And we need government to respond. And that's why I'm running, to make government respond for us.
Kenyatta thinks that revolutionary change can only be made possible by investing early in our country's future generation.
We also need to focus on the fact that this pandemic has meant a real increased pressure on all of us, but certainly on our young people. And so there's a lot of issues, social and emotional issues that we need to invest in mental health care right in our classrooms. I have a bill called Phillips Law, which I introduced after an 11-year-old wonderful kid in my district died by suicide, to reimagine the way we provide mental health care in our schools, having a mandated ratio of how many mental health professionals we have, and then actually funding that once we have that mandated ratio. And so those are the types of things that we could be looking at and investing in, that they sort of wake up and say, we really need to make these investments starting as early as possible, investing in our kids, and make sure every step of the way that they're in a safe space with good educators.
Kenyatta believes that his struggles and differences are what defines his success instead of defying his success, and he hopes others follow in his footsteps.
I'm going to define my success by the other people who look at what I've done and said, you know what, I'm going to run to. You know what, I can run to. Because I do believe that bravery is contagious. I say that all the time, but it is. And I know how difficult it is to be something you can't see. And I hope that a lot of people look up and see a poor Black kid from North Philly who's now a serious candidate for the US Senate and who will go on to be a senator that focuses on them.
Thanks to Malcolm and Maggie for that story and for his time. We'll be keeping a close eye on that Senate race. A new Pitt UPMC residency program will be bringing improved health care to patients who reside in rural Pennsylvania areas. Nationwide, only 10% of physicians work in rural areas, yet 60 million Americans reside in them. And since 56% of family medicine residency graduates will practice medicine within 100 miles of where they were trained, this program could prove to be very beneficial for the state of Pennsylvania. Statistically, in comparison to urban cities, rural areas are inhabited by older and sicker individuals. Due to the lack of access to proper care, there is a higher rate of mortality. With the launch of this program, according to UPMC Cole and UPMC Wellsboro Hospital President Janie Hilfiger, it may also create a pipeline for practitioners who are committed to working in these kinds of settings.
See you later, Tommy. Janie's my favorite Hilfiger now. And now we're going to send it over to Vineet Joshi with your Pitt Medical Minute. Vineet?
Hey, folks. So last week, our City Beat reporter Jackie Napier interviewed Dr. Jim Withers, founder of the groundbreaking Street Medicine Institute. You know, we've gotten such a strong response to that story last week that we've decided to delve deeper this week. With a closer look, here's your Medical Minute.
For Dr. Withers, it all began with a simple idea, providing care for those that the healthcare system seemed to overlook.
As a medical educator, as a practitioner, you become aware that there's a lot of disconnect between the reality of the health system and the reality of many of our patients that we serve, if not all, particularly those who are marginalized and excluded. There are health disparities and health gaps. I think it's a conundrum that we ought to, first of all, recognize, don't pretend it doesn't exist. I had a mother and a father who were both in healthcare. My dad was a family doctor. My mother was a nurse. It was so organic to them to reach out to those in the community who were in need. And so I think the main thing, which is the tagline of the Street Medicine Institute, would be to go to the people. You have to look for people that still have that energy and find solidarity with them. And then together demand that all the Eeyores need to get out of the room, and that we can actually do more and reinvent healthcare as we move forward.
And the next generation of medical professionals have indeed been embodying that solidarity to promote the goals of the Street Medicine Institute by forming the Street Medicine at Pitt program.
For me, when it all started, whenever I started medical school, Dr. Withers gave a really powerful speech about his involvement with street medicine and just how impactful it was in his life. So, I reached out to him and he connected me with some others that were interested in it as well. We just started meeting together. We got Anna on board and just kept building the group with a lot of great people with different backgrounds.
We go into the community, often into Oakland, and we've established relationships with certain patients. We still follow HIPAA protocol. We treat them as patients. We treat them as equals. The population, nobody's looked down upon. Everybody's a human. Everybody has unique circumstances in life.
Yeah, so this is one of the bags we take out on street rounds. Glucometers, we have some wound care supplies, things to meet people where they are.
We're not just providing clinical care. A lot of it is whole person care, making sure that they have a safe environment, making sure they have food to eat. And then once those needs are met and they're comfortable with that, then we can look at the clinical aspects.
And we are so proud of the selfless work that all the volunteers do at Street Medicine at Pitt. And be sure to give them a follow on Instagram at Street Medicine at Pitt. From Pitt to the Point, I'm medical reporter Vineet Joshi. Sarah, Chris?
Thanks, Vineet. Well, next up, the latest headlines from our award-winning newspaper. It's the Pitt News on Pitt to the Point. Pitt's faculty assembly met on Wednesday to discuss the upcoming fall semester and the university's changing COVID-19 policies as a result of the high vaccination rate. The assembly also discussed anti-Semitism on campus and a new program that offers $10,000 grants to any professor who wishes to create a course about Jewish studies.
After delays and rescheduling, this should be worth the wait. Students involved in Pitt Stage's first main stage production of the semester, A New Brain, are set to present a comical musical about a composer's life-changing medical journey. A New Brain will run next weekend with performances on Friday and Saturday from 8 p.m. to 10:30 p.m. and Sundays at 2 p.m.
Pitt baseball has a busy weekend ahead. The team is playing in Tennessee with a game today against Bradley. They then have 2 games tomorrow, Saturday the 23rd, against Bradley and Lipscomb, and then the team closes out the weekend facing Lipscomb again. This is after the Panthers had a 2-2 start with its initial series against Canisius.
My name is Alexandra Ross, and I'm a staff writer at the Pitt News. We hadn't really done an article checking in on them since restrictions had lifted for related to COVID-19, and since they're allowed to be back at full capacity now, doing business at all hours and stuff. We wanted to see how things have been this academic school year, and it seems like things are going pretty good, so yeah. Generally, it seems like they're doing really great. A lot of them expressed that they were really happy with the way things have gone this school year. They were really excited to see students back in the bars. The owner of Mario's, he said that when the ACC championship was going on, and he also shouted out Pitt volleyball, when some of those really high-achieving sports teams were having their moments, students would come into the bars to watch the games or see the highlight reels on the TV and be cheering and get all excited. And that was one of the things that he said reminded him of why he liked being in the bar industry so much, and having a college bar, especially seeing the students have that enjoyment. Yeah, so we have different themes for each of our print editions, maybe not every single one of them, but a bunch of them. For example, we recently had our sex edition around Valentine's Day. This is our beer and wine edition, so if you grab a print edition, they're on stands all around campus. You'll get to read some different articles about the bars, about home brewers in Pittsburgh. I know we have some articles on our website about sober students at Pitt, players that aged like fine wine from Pitt sports. So just a bunch of different alcohol bar related stories in this piece. So that was one of the big reasons why it came up.
So much to the Pitt News. Shout out to the Pitt News and all their amazing writers over there, including myself. No, I'm just kidding. I'd say more pretty good, but I mean, that's just me.
Average at best.
You can find these stories and more by going to www.pittnews.com or by picking up a paper at an on-campus dispenser. Coming up, we've got another exclusive interview here on Pitt to the Point, all the way from Italy, and more.
Stick with us.
Welcome back to Pitt to the Point. Let's send it over to Molly Hunter with the rundown on all things Pitt sports. Molly?
Today, I am sitting down with Heather Like, the athletic director here at the University of Pittsburgh. Like arrived in Pittsburgh in 2017 after serving as the vice president and athletic director at Eastern Michigan University. Underneath Like's leadership, Pitt athletics has seen a complete transformation. Pitt has seen a multitude of new head coaches, open the state-of-the-art broadcast facility, Pitt Studios, an ACC football championship, a rebranding effort, and the launch of Victory Heights. Today, we will be discussing Pitt's accomplishments thus far, as well as looking into the future of Pitt athletics. Obviously, Pitt football has had one of their most notable seasons in several years. We had a Heisman Trophy finalist, clinched a conference championship, and attended a New Year's Six Bowl. Looking to next season, we have some highly anticipated games planned. That includes hosting West Virginia for the season opener and then Tennessee back-to-back. What inspired the return of the Backyard Brawl?
We did have an opportunity to, bring back the Backyard Brawl. It's going to be a marquee game. It will be a Thursday night opening game for college football. It'll be the first game of the entire season, so it's certainly going to get a lot of national attention. Come to Heinz Field, pack the place. We want more Pitt fans there than West Virginia. And it's just a tremendous stage for our team to open up the season with.
The Panthers will host West Virginia on September 1st. There has been some construction happening over there on O'Hara Street. Can you tell us a little bit about the new Student Rec Center that will be coming to Pitt soon?
Yeah, well, it broke ground during COVID. I remember coming to work and seeing the fence go up and the O'Hara garage come down. It is. I don't even know how excited I can be and explain about the new rec center, because I think it is so necessary and so needed on our campus. I think it's going to transform the student experience at Pitt. It will be a gathering place. It will be a place where, from a mental well-being, physical well-being, an opportunity to release stress, to get to know people, to connect, to socialize. I think all of that can happen in a really healthy way in a great rec center. And so it's, I think, 10 stories high. I lost track of how many basketball courts. There's a pool, all sorts of physical fitness, health equipment, and probably some gathering places and places to plug in and study. And I think it's really going to connect the campus too. Because the back of Victory Heights, you will be able to walk out of the 5th floor of the rec center and walk across to the top, to the roof of Victory Heights, basically. So there's going to be some really neat interactive connectivity from a walking standpoint, from a landscape standpoint, and I just think it's really going to transform Pitt's campus.
And on behalf of Pitt to the Point, I just want to thank Heather for taking the time to sit down with us. Pitt has had quite the electric year, and it only keeps getting better. This past weekend, Pitt Gymnastics made history as they posted a program high score of 196.775. And keep an eye out for track and field as they are competing this weekend at the ACC Indoor Championships. Updates from the weekend can be found at pittsburghpanthers.com. Now over to Jackie Napier with the City Beat.
Mario Lemieux is the only person to ever win a Stanley Cup as a Pittsburgh Penguins player and as a Pittsburgh Penguins owner. In 1996, his son Austin was born profoundly premature and spent 71 days in the NICU. This inspired the Lemieux family to create Austin's playrooms in hospitals across the country. I had the chance to speak with Stephanie Lemieux, Mario's daughter and founder of Little Moo, about how her business is giving back.
Mario Lemieux, the owner of the Pittsburgh Penguins, is widely regarded as one of the greatest hockey players of all time. Lemieux is also the founder of the Mario Lemieux Foundation, an organization dedicated to funding cancer research and patient care. Mario's daughter Stephanie is following in her father's philanthropic footsteps with her business, Little Moo, a children's clothing brand supporting a mission near and dear to the Lemieux family's hearts.
Little Moo, we're a children's clothing line. We primarily sell children's apparel, so infant toddler range. I think our highest age range would be like 2-3T. And then we also sell blankets. They're actually our best sellers. So we offer 3 size blankets, a little lovey size, a baby blanket, and then a throw size for adults, which sells really great. And I think the brand is more so like a gift giving brand, just because we are a higher luxury brand. So, you're paying for the quality that you're getting, but also we also included a philanthropic aspect to the brand as well. And so, every gift that you buy from Little Moo, you're also helping other people and other little children, not only in the Pittsburgh region, but beyond. So I think that's something that's unique with Little Moo as well. So back when my younger brother Austin was born, he was born 3 months prematurely, and he spent 71 days in the NICU. So after my parents' experience with that, they created Austin's Playrooms, which are playrooms that are developed in medical facilities for families and whether they're patients or siblings of patients. It's just a place where they can go and still be kids and play and kind of forget about why they might be in the hospital in the first place. So again, that came from like my parents' own personal experience with my brother, and then my sister Lauren and I were very young. We were just toddlers at the time, so it wasn't a place where there was no place where we could go play. So I wanted to include philanthropy with the brand just because those values were instilled in me from as far back as I can remember. So that was really high up on the list when I started Little Moo, and then we've been able to help a lot of people along the way over the last 4 years. My dad is obviously a business owner, and so I'm sure, subconsciously that probably trickled down, but for the most part, it just was, I was coming out of college and I didn't really want to do like a corporate job at that point in my life. So I just said, I'm going to take this leap and see where it takes me. I do like fashion, and growing up, when I would nanny, I could never really find anything that I really liked. And so that's kind of how I started it. And the creative side, I think it just comes, a lot of the stuff on my website is very minimalistic and simple. And I think that also goes a long way just because it's so timeless. We just actually did a special collection with the Pittsburgh Penguins, and we're looking to maybe move to other teams throughout the NHL and perhaps other sports leagues as well. And then I think too, just continuing to raise brand awareness in Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh's been home forever for me, and the city's done a lot for my family and I. So, I think having people know about the brand and support the brand and in turn support the foundation and the cause would only be good things. So I'm just excited for, like I said, more people to become aware of the brand and the story behind the brand and the impact that the brand can really do for people. And I'm just excited to see where it'll take us. It means a lot to the brand, and it means a lot to the Lemieux Foundation and Austin's Playrooms and the kids and the families that you're directly helping by purchasing Little Moo.
Thank you so much, Stephanie. Once again, if you would like to purchase from Little Moo, the website is www.mylittlemoo.com. As Stephanie said, a portion of your sale will be donated to the Mario Lemieux Foundation for cancer research and patient care initiatives. For Pitt to the Point, I'm City Beat reporter Jackie Napier. Chris and Sarah, over to you.
Thank you so much, Jackie. Now we're going to send it over to Andrew Mundy. Actually, he is Andrew Mundy to me, but right. Andrew Mundy for your Steel City Sports Update. Andrew?
Thank you, Chris. The Pittsburgh Pirates, along with all of the other 29 Major League Baseball teams, have been locked out of activity over the last 85 days. With spring training already starting for players in the minor leagues, those in the MLB are left with not a lot of time in order to prepare for their season. The Major League Baseball lockout continues as the collective bargaining agreement discussions have yielded very little results up until this point. But what exactly is the CBA, and why can't the players just play without one?
The collective bargaining agreement is the contract that Major League Baseball and the Players Association have to actually play games. They usually go in 5-year increments, and the last one was extended in December of 2016. And in December of 2021, the two sides were unable to reach an agreement for a new contract. The problem is both sides have very different interpretations of what is fair. This week has been really the first time that they've actually had some significant negotiations, because Major League Baseball instituted that February 28th deadline for, to get the season started on time on March 31st. And players feel about the same way. Both sides agree that there needs to be about a month-long spring training. Last couple of days, they have had multiple meetings, multiple negotiating sessions, but it still has very much been, we have a proposal where we moved an inch here, and we have a proposal where we moved an inch here, and they are just so far apart that an inch really isn't enough at this point in the junction, considering how close we are coming to that doomsday clock hitting midnight and regular season games being postponed or potentially canceled.
Although players on the 40-man roster are unable to play right now, those left in the minor leagues are able to get their reps in. With the Pirates having the third best ranked farm system in the league, there sure is some intrigue currently happening in camp.
That there's just so much depth there that you have to bank that, a couple players out of that group are going to emerge. With the high level guys that they have on top of that, it's starting in 2022, but really kicking in 2023 and 2024. There are going to be a lot of good young players coming through this system, and a lot of that comes to how they develop these guys.
With the February 28th deadline coming up, when might we be able to see normality resume?
Just chit-chatting, not to attribute it to anyone, but just talking to coaches, talking to front office people, there is a sense of optimism around there that real baseball, Major League Baseball, is going to figure this out, that they're actually going to have a season work that way. Now, that obviously is far from guaranteed, but if you're looking for any optimism, there is some in Pirates camp that, this will get done this week. Major League Baseball season will start at the end of March, and the second longest lockout or work stoppage in baseball history will finally come to a close without any actual games being lost.
Although some in the baseball world remain optimistic, yesterday's meetings again did not promise any near-future resolution, as the owners and players failed to come to an agreement. Something of note, however, is that both the players' union and the owners are coming closer to a compromise regarding player service time, as well as college draft lottery system. With Pitt to the Point, I'm City Sports reporter Andrew Mundy. Chris, Sarah.
Thanks, Andrew. Stick with us. We'll be back right after this break.
Welcome back to Pitt to the Point. If you're just joining us, we're your hosts, Sarah Sarignano and Chris Cornejo. Thank you for joining us while we get you up to date on all your Pittsburgh news.
Pitt to the Point will air weekly every Saturday until April 22nd from 8 to 9 a.m. Eastern Time. From noon on Pittsburgh, the CW and CBSN, and 3 p.m. Eastern on WPCW TV, KDKA's TV's cable channel, CBSN streaming, and CBS Pittsburgh starting Saturday at noon.
Today, we are being joined by our international correspondent, Samantha Gaffney, joining us live from all the way in my ancestral country of Italy. Samantha, welcome to the show.
Hi, thank you so much for having me. I just want to apologize if it's loud. I'm in a local cafe right now.
Oh, no, you're totally fine.
Thank you so much for being with us.
So, what has it been like? What's going on in Italy right now?
Well, it's a rainy day, so it's not as beautiful as normal, but it's been great. Pitt has a great program here for study abroad, so it's been it's been a culture shock at times, but most days have been sunny and beautiful. People are so kind. You can see right here, that's one of the bridges nearby. It's right by the Ponte Vecchio, which is a great place to find all of the old gold shops, which Florence is known for. It's a great place. It's different from Pittsburgh for sure, but it has a similar feeling, if that can make any sense.
No, absolutely love that. We heard that you've been digging into some food over there. You want to tell us about it?
Yeah, of course. So, of course, I'm in Italy. The pasta is amazing. So much of it homemade. One thing about Florence that is almost specific, not specific, but they have a wild boar ragu that you will find on any menu. That is something that if you come to Italy, and then that right there is called aperitivo. It's almost like a happy hour in Italy where you get some drinks, you get little crostinis, and it's a great place for socializing, meeting new people. It is a really big staple here, and I think it is something that I would love to bring back with me when I come back.
Right. I mean, that looks delicious. And if that's what that happy hour looks like, I want to spend as many hours in Italy as I possibly can. Samantha, thank you so much for your time. We're not going to take up too much of your time. We're going to let you enjoy Florence, of course, as much as you possibly can. We're going to cut now to Chase with our Clubbing at Pitt segment this week. Chase, what do you got?
Just a minute.
This is where we're covering the Unique Urban Gaming Club. And if I have to say something, I think that's a club that I want to be a part of. Unique Urban Gaming, that just sounds something like I'll be good at, right?
I don't know about all that.
You don't know about all that? I don't know. Yeah, I'm okay at video games. But now, Chase, let's see what you got for us.
Everybody loves a good game night. Whether it be board games or video games, playing games are a bonding experience that anyone can enjoy. For our Clubbing at Pitt segment this week, we're covering the Urban Gaming Club. The club centers around gaming of all forms, including card games, board games, video games, and even active games like Capture the Flag.
Urban Gaming Club, we call ourselves UGC, and we are all about getting our members out and about and active with games, and the urban portion, a lot of people question about, like, what do you do that's urban? But we try to get out and get active in the wild, I suppose. So we do a lot of board games, card games, and video games as our general routine, and then we also have events that get us across campus.
The main goal of the club is to discover new games, de-stress, and have a good time with great friends. The club even sponsors trips to arcades and escape rooms as well.
I started off in the club. I actually saw us playing HVZ one day, and I said, hey, can I join? They're like, yeah, just come on in and join, and I had a blast, and I joined the club, and then I think the next semester after that, I was one of the officers.
HVZ, which stands for Humans vs. Zombies, is an event that's one of the main signatures of the club, and most students around campus know and recognize when this event is going on.
Humans vs. Zombies is all about having fun and playing throughout the week, and it's essentially a game of tag. So you have humans who are trying to survive against the zombies, and the zombies can come and tag the humans, but the humans can stun the zombies with Nerf blasters, and so that's the whole thing where we have Nerf blasters all around campus, and you can play anywhere, non-academic buildings, like no restaurants and things like that, but essentially all across campus you can play.
Humans vs. Zombies is one of the main draws of the club, and the prominence of this event is a big part of attracting new members to the club.
I'm a freshman, so it's going through the club fair. There's about 100 different tables, and I see this one with a bunch of Nerf guns on it. So naturally, I'm drawn towards that. I mean, I used these things when I was a kid, and I was like, okay, let's see what's up. After that, I learned about the whole sort of idea of humans versus zombies, and that really enticed me to join the club. Ever since that, I kind of have been to every other game night and just have been a regular at the club.
Aside from HVZ, there are a lot of other games within the club, and the members like to highlight some lesser-known games to keep things interesting.
I played a bunch of new board games that I never thought I would play. I never really was a board game guy, but after having this experience with a bunch of other people who are enjoying it as well, that has kind of enticed me as well. So there was this one called Coup we played the other day, where it's this big game of lying and kind of this deceit thing where you have to essentially bluff your way into winning. That was a lot of fun.
The continued bond of the club, despite the pandemic, truly shows how gaming brings the members together, and how a shared love of games is really something special.
As a freshman, one of the hardest things to do is finding that niche you really fit in. I think at the beginning of my first semester, I was in like 8 or 9 different clubs. And it's just really hard to find like a community or one that like really fits with you. And I think Urban Gaming Club has been just this great inclusive community where I can meet people. Everyone's very friendly, helpful, and kind. And other than that, it's just a ton of fun just hanging out with people and having kind of like just a chill way to end your week.
With Pitt to the Point, I'm your Clubbing at Pitt segment producer, Chase Murphy. Back to you in the studio, Chris and Sarah.
Thank you so much, Chase. Now, to provide an update on the situation going on in the country of Ukraine, the U.S. Embassy in Kiev has actually advised all Americans to leave the country as fast as possible and as soon as possible. Reports coming in from the country report that Russian military and Russian forces have infiltrated and taken over an airport in the Russian capital city of Kiev. This, of course, is a situation that continues to become further tumultuous as Russian military aggression continues and the Ukrainian people are on the defensive. The Kiev mayor actually noted that the Ukrainian city is now in a defensive position. So this is something that obviously is going to be very, very monitored throughout the time. We want to again reiterate our thanks to Professor and Dr. Mylavanov for his time earlier on with us. He, of course, is in the country of Ukraine right now as the situation is ongoing. So we, of course, just hope for his safety and security as this ongoing situation develops within the region. Now, of course, Sarah, this is a very scary situation. It's almost surreal how this is going on right now and how we're viewing it in real time throughout social medias. And of course, Pitt to the Point is going to continue to update social medias and providing information to all of you so that you can stay up to date and informed on the situation going on here. Of course, Dr. Mylavanov is one of our own here at the University of Pittsburgh and is part of the Pitt community. And of course, there must be more people within the Pitt community that are affected by what's going on, by 100%. The situation in Ukraine. Absolutely. And so, like we said, it is surreal to see it going on in live format right now. But here at Pitt to the Point, we're going to continue giving you information and providing you with what you need to know on the ongoing and developing situation.
Well, thank you all so much for tuning in this morning to Pitt to the Point, your news source for all things happening at Pitt, all the way to the point.
And thank you to our partners KDKA and CBSN for their incredible support.
Next week, as our crew rotates to new roles in the studio, you'll be joined by 2 new fantastic anchors, so don't miss us too much.
Try not to, right?
Hope everyone's okay out there. Once again, I'm Sarah Sirignano.
And I'm Chris Cornejo. Thanks for joining us on Pitt to the Point.